Welcome to the Coaching Life Podcast. Welcome to the pod. No one can see that. At the Schoonover Center in the beautiful campus of Ohio University.
Right.
It's hot outside today, Coach. We haven't been talking about the weather much.
That's an understatement. All right.
I've been watering the baseball field extra. Better not let too many people hear that.
Some extra?
Got some dead spots. You have dead spots right now? Not dead spots, but dormant spots.
I have one. Just because it's a sprinkler head that doesn't pop up out in front of shortstop.
Oh, it just don't bubble up and give the. I mean, it's still leaks.
We've got it shut off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. How'd you
yeah.
shut it
The
off?
sprinkler
You
head's
cap it?
broken. We capped it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't even pop up at all.
Gotcha.
Or maybe trying and it's not making it through.
So the grass isn't growing
I went out and changed some of those sprinkler heads in the summer, and I was gonna do that one, but I can't find it. Like I don't know where it, because in order to change them, you got to dig around the sprinkler head and then unscrew it and then change it, replace it. And I don't want to just start digging in my grass right in front of shortstop if I don't know exactly where that's at.
Yeah.
And so I got to figure out a way to detect it. And
Should be able to like probe it or something. I don't know. If you
Yeah, I
probe
would
it, you
think
probably
so.
bust through it maybe.
but that's really, I mean, it's a section of grass that's maybe 8 feet wide. It's the one space that I've run a hose out with one of those sprinklers.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've got a spot like that too from Legion tryouts. Well, right inside of second base, because guys would field a ball from shortstop and finish through the grass or take it on the run. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like right at the corner cut.
That many times in the tryout?
Oh, it wore it down. It
Wow.
It busted it up. Yeah. Or they would circle through. Yeah, that's what it was. Then
From the I see what you're saying. The skills portion where they're all taking 6 or 7 ground balls
Yeah.
apiece. Yeah, because I think just about every single person that came to that tryout tried out as an infielder, and multiple positions, outfield, infield.
but not everybody tried out as an outfielder.
Yeah, there was only a handful.
Yeah. Tip one to those
you go.
trying out for a team.
Start right off the bat with some tips.
If a coach ever says, "Do you want to? Can you? Are you?" The answer is yes.
Yep.
So when the tryout starts with who wants to take some balls in the outfield and get some velocity on throwing from right field to third base, you do.
I think I made one of my young guys do that. Did you hear that?
We actually made the second tryout we had for the 15U team. We made everybody get out in the right field. Actually, I did. I said, "Go."
Yeah. You may not know that
it's
you're
not
an
gonna hurt
outfielder,
you.
but you're right. You might get to be one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a get to be, not a have to be situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you got more ground to play with out there.
Yeah, have I ever told
More running around. You get to catch fly balls and throw people out the plate.
Have I told my Gene Weiss story on the podcast before?
You told a couple Gene Wise stories, but I don't know if you told this one. So
I was.
you want me
I'm,
to cut you off if you?
I'm left-handed. I have that disease.
You are, yeah. Wrong hander.
Youth baseball in the little league, when below, I was a second baseman.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the greatest left-handed second baseman to ever play the game, Coach.
There was. I'm not gonna question that.
I might be the only one. That's the joke. But anyways,
Did you see the Little League World Series team? It wasn't a World Series team, I don't think. It was a
man, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about.
regional
today.
or super regional team, maybe. Well, they don't do super regionals. Whatever. It was one of the Little League teams that had a left-handed shortstop.
Really?
Yeah, well, he was clearly the best player on that team.
I'm going to say
their best pitcher.
Sometimes it comes down to that. Sometimes the kid's just so athletic that can make those plays. I mean, there's still some disadvantage
At that level, yeah. I mean, in reality, and he's going to be able to transition to the positions that he actually will play in a couple of years really easily. The problem is you're not developing somebody else in that age group to play the position.
It's true.
That's actually built more for a right-hander. Yeah.
So I got to Pony League, 13 junior Pony League, and Gene moved me to right field. Coach Wise moved me to right field.
Just a handful of steps back.
We were
second base.
Everyone was ticked off. Like me, other, my parents didn't understand it. Other parents were mad. That have been with the team for a while. And
why?
Well, I'll tell you why, but I'm going to tell you in story without a bluff.
Gotcha.
I get to, and that's where I played. I still ended up playing some infield. I actually played some shortstop.
I would think that's an easier position than second base for a left-hander.
It is.
The angle isn't as sharp.
Yeah. But at any rate, I get to high school as a freshman, and my JV coach, Coach Pete Woods, who I got to talk to this summer, I had a good visit with, good fella, says, how many people play outfield? I do, Coach. Me and another guy raised our hand, a group of like 13 kids. And he said, there's our first 2 starters. And that's why Gene moved me to the outfield, because he knew, one, I was a smaller kid, short, wasn't going to play first base. And he knew I was going to play outfield most likely in high school. So he did what was best for me, even though it wasn't really what everyone else thought was best at the time. So let's talk about the Little League World Series, though.
No,
I don't know.
Well, that's a great. I mean, that's a great point and a great story. But also, another reality is you're better suited to play the outfield because of the kind of athlete you are.
Oh yeah,
being
for sure.
left-handed.
Yeah,
right. And you're good, very good baseball player.
Well,
there you go.
I liked it a lot.
Understand the game, right? Understand, but that's you're putting your better athletes in the outfield. Could you run? What kind of speed did you have?
I was fast.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, a lot faster than I am now.
Yeah, I mean,
some people say
that goes without saying as you age, there, my man.
They people say every once in a while if they see me playing, your favorite co-ed softball, that hey, you're fast, you got wheels. And I'm like,
yeah, I've got a young man that he's wanted to play infield, wanted to play in particularly third base, right? But he's also probably one of the fastest kids in the school, probably the fastest kid on my baseball team, my high school team, and has become one of the best outfielders that we've had.
Yeah.
There. And why would I waste his athleticism at third base?
Right.
And it sounds strange for people to hear that, right? Because of course all the best athletes are in the infield. Well, that's just not true.
It's definitely not true.
It's absolutely
right.
not true.
And
we
less
could beat
true
that
as you
horse
get
until
older.
it's dead.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it would be a waste to put a kid that runs a 6'6", 860 on third base.
Yeah. If you think about the greatest baseball players of all time, your list is going to be comprised mostly of outfielders.
It's true.
So,
yeah.
Good about that, though. But yeah, definitely. And don't get stuck. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one position ever.
Right.
Try to learn as many as you can.
Yeah. And don't let your kids do that, because we have more parents that listen to the podcast than players. And sometimes I think parents, they see their child and they're like, "Oh, you're definitely a first baseman," or you're small, so you're a second baseman, or I want you to be a shortstop because that's the most luxurious position on the field. But then what happens is the truth is, I guess if you train as a shortstop, you're probably going to play. You could play any position, really, any infield position.
Probably.
Yeah. If you just train as an athlete and you learn how to field ground balls and run down fly balls and catch pop-ups behind you and in front of you, then that means you can play anywhere. And that's the answer you want to be able to give. Yeah,
and let's see, get your thoughts on this, because I kind of feel this way. I was thinking about like travel baseball and rec baseball, summer baseball, opportunities to grow and develop. And I feel like there's 2 things that game reps, obviously you try to simulate game reps as much as you can in practice. And the argument that, well, you can't, the more game reps you get, the better. And that's true. However, we've talked about before, if like shortstop, if you're a shortstop and you play 100 summer baseball games, the number of reps you get on shortstop probably isn't helping you that much during those games.
Yeah.
Because it's limited. You know what I mean? And I think there's two things that, like, being in a game situation really helps you. Probably three. Pitching probably does, because but it's not when you're doing well. Like you as a pitcher, if you're trying to develop yourself, you want to get in situations that are kind of sticky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you have practice being in those.
Right.
And that pressure that's on you, and, just the feel of the game. I think that's true with hitting, like seeing pitchers. Mm-hmm. And I think it's true in the outfield, because I think there's a different feel to, having a line drive hit right at you in a game. Or you have to go back on a ball, or even camping under a baseball when that live game's going on. Now, still, I would still argue that the number of reps you're going to get in a game, you're not going to get as many as you do in practice. So
that's no question,
right?
Regardless of what
you
position
can't argue it, right?
Yeah.
But that feel is a different feel, and I think people could argue the same for infield too. But
the catcher,
I think it's a little bit different.
It's opposite for catchers, right?
Yeah,
they're going to get a lot more reps in a game than they would
that's
in
true.
practice. Yeah,
that's true.
But every other position, it's pretty well.
We're the same, maybe.
Unless you figure out a way to.
Right. Yeah. Right. You want to replicate it, but don't be afraid of letting your kid play outfield.
Encourage them
anytime.
Yeah.
So,
hey, speaking of Little League World Series, you sent me. I didn't get to watch the World Championship game. Little League is the one sport that actually has a World Championship. If you think about it,
that's true.
I mean,
but and I know he's listening to us right now. He's probably running or something. But if he was sitting in his office listening, he would have his feet up, his hands behind his head, laughing, enjoying himself, because
the way the World Series was won.
Yes. The Little League World Series was won on a bunt.
On a play that should have been a routine out at first.
Yes. It's true. So Coach Detweiler
China
wins
wasn't
out.
ready.
Somebody on China wasn't ready. Everyone wants recap.
How'd the play go?
I think there's a runner on second base. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was. I didn't.
Tie game.
I didn't watch much of the Little League World Series this year. Regrettably,
I've been
busy.
I
wasn't home much. But it's tie game. It might have been extra innings. The bottom of the extra inning. It might have been international rule. I don't know. But there's a runner on second. They're bunting him to third.
Ugh. No outs.
I don't know how many outs there were. I'm assuming none.
Yeah. I'm not against that.
Well, not in the
late
way
in the game. That situation, no outs. Heck yeah.
It wasn't.
Little League, I might even do it with one.
Especially when you're in the bottom of the inning. I asked about that in a major league game the other day.
As many wild pitches.
The Guardians had a runner on second base, and they were down a run, and no outs. And you had 2, 3, 4 up. So I say, well, you got to bunt him to third, and then let your 3 and 4 have an opportunity. I mean, right?
2 years ago, Terry Francona's Guardians would have done that.
Probably.
They did it. Watched them do it.
Now the 2-hole lined out.
Oh, they did it?
No, they lined out. They didn't bunt.
They didn't bunt him?
No.
Yeah.
But, he just missed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's an argument there. But he didn't. It wasn't a sacrifice bunt. It was a.
Yeah, the Chinese or the Florida teams.
Yeah, I mean it was a good bunt.
Well placed
down
bunt.
the line. Yes.
First base side.
First base side, and pitcher and first baseman crashed. Pitcher fielded it, wheeled, and threw the ball into right field.
2 big mistakes on that play.
There might have been a few.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the thing. Like everyone's blaming.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say mistake number 1 is what your catcher doing.
True. Yes. Yes.
Hold it.
Yeah. What's he doing? What's
you
he saying?
You got to communicate. That's
right.
number 1.
Maybe the first baseman's secondary assignment, once he knew the ball wasn't coming to him, was to recover. Right.
Yeah. The big one for me, 2 big ones, is why on earth is your second baseman covering second base?
I don't know.
When does a second baseman go that direction?
I don't know.
I mean, it could be, they're 12-year-old kids. It could have been brain fart.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe that's how Chinese Taipei does it.
Maybe they had the old 35 in or something. Everyone, the corners are crashing, but he wasn't there. No one was there. Pitcher threw it.
Without even really looking.
Where's the right fielder?
That's another issue. The pitcher just picked it up, and he was in his throwing motion before his head got turned around.
Yeah.
And that's why you said there was no appeal for the base runner running inside the line,
right?
Because there was just not even a chance.
There's no interference there. You have no chance of getting out.
Doesn't matter, Pat.
So that's the. Doesn't
matter.
I know.
As an umpire, I got to call that.
I know. Our umpires out there, I'd like to.
I got an umpire that has told me that.
See,
I won't use names, but everybody probably knows who I'm talking about when I say.
Yeah, I kind of got in an argument with an umpire down in South Carolina because they called a play like that on a ball that was being thrown in an attempt. It was being thrown to the second baseman who had cut inside of second base in an attempt to get the runner at third. And they said that the batter interfered with the throw to get the runner going to second out. And I said there was no throw to second base, so there couldn't have been interference there, right? So there's runner on first and third. It's first and third situation.
Second baseman was throwing to third on that?
Second baseman cuts in on a cut. So they don't throw all the way down the bag.
First and third, it was a steal.
Yeah.
I got you.
He cuts in, they throw to second, and they called interference. And I'm like, there's no interference because they weren't attempting to get a kid out on that throw.
Why didn't the kid just run on the second base?
He did. The kid went to second base.
Why are so you wait for the play to end, the kid's safe at second, so there's no interference anyway because he's safe. Right?
Well,
you don't stop the play in the middle of the play.
Well, they didn't call it. They didn't stop it. They waited, but they said that the catcher was interfered with by the hitter.
Oh,
yeah, on his throw to second base to get the runner, and I said he wasn't throwing to second base to get the runner. He was throwing. Oh, it's like saying if there's a runner on.
Yeah, but I mean, who's to say like? What if does your second baseman never decoy that and let the throw go through, though? I mean, umpire can't make that.
We didn't.
Judgment. Yeah, but if I was an umpire, I'm still saying he's throwing that ball to second base. Your second baseman just cut it off.
Really?
I am.
You're not.
On that one.
If
it was legitimate interference on the batter.
By rule it is. He fell over the plate. There was no contact.
Well, but that's still interference. It doesn't have to be contact.
He wasn't making a play on a runner, Coach. Let me ask you this.
He is.
Okay, let me ask you this then.
Though.
Okay,
how is an umpire supposed to determine whether or not so basically I think
if he doesn't cut it, then it's a play.
If he doesn't cut it,
right,
then there should have been interference.
Right.
But but there was no outs. Well, I don't know though, man. I don't know because the umpire's job is to call out because the out would be on the batter and the runner would have to go back.
Yes.
The interference is on the batter regardless.
It was a third out
of where the throw ends up.
But that's not true, and here's why.
Have you looked this rule up?
Here's why.
We're going to need help on this.
Runner on first base. No, it's the spirit of the rule. That's what it is. Runner on first base.
They don't care about spirit of the rule.
Well, I know. That's the argument. Runner on first base. Catcher catches the ball. Batter steps out of the box. Catcher moves behind the batter and then throws to first base and hits the batter in the back of the head. Is that interference?
You saw this happen?
No.
Oh.
Is that
You're just coming up with a ridiculous example.
Exactly, because that's what's supported in this. Well, that's the rule. The batter interfered.
The batter did not interfere in that scenario.
He did.
The catcher created that interference in that scenario. That's the judgment of the umpire, right?
But the rule is, though, if the batter moves out of the box, if the batter makes a movement in the box and interferes with the catcher making a play on a runner, the batter's out.
No, if the catcher, yeah, I mean, those interference rules are wild. I mean, if the catcher makes a throw to second base and his elbow just barely touches the umpire and the throw is late, clearly late, didn't obstruct the throw at all, didn't interfere with the throw at all, but the throw is clearly late, runner's safe at second. The umpire, I had it happen this year. I've actually seen it happen twice this year.
Sends it back to first?
Once on us. Oh, yeah, the umpire stopped immediately, so that's interference. And there's like zero you can do about it.
So what happens? They send him back to first?
Send him back to first.
Interesting.
Yeah. Umpire interference.
Does the pitch count?
The pitch counts because the pitch happened. the play does
I didn't
not
know.
count.
I didn't know that's how they'd call
Yeah,
that.
it happened in a game with us. It was frustrating because it actually the throw went to first. The kid was trying to back pick at first base, and first baseman missed it, like it got through his glove, and so we got an extra base on it. And it was early on in the season. The umpire said that.
Okay, so what about?
He's like, I got to send him back, coach, because when he turned to throw, his elbow hit me. He said I wasn't ready for it. I was too close to him, and his elbow hit me, and I felt it, and that's interference on me. And I said, did it really impact that throw though? I mean, the first baseman just missed it, and he said, I can't make that determination. He hit me, and his arm hit me, and that's interference. He
See,
said,
I disagree
in
with
that
that.
moment, whether it impacts the throw or not. In that moment, it was interference.
But that's the judgment call.
You would
know what I mean?
think. I
Whether
know.
it impacted the throw or not. I saw a major league play where the runner ran into the umpire at second base, but I didn't see the result of it. I assumed they allowed him to get out.
Ooh, run into the umpire.
The umpire was in the baseline, and it was a force out at second, and the runner ran into him, couldn't get there.
What did they call that?
I don't know.
Oh, you didn't.
I just assumed he was out, that the umpire was in play, and that's what I would assume on that.
No, umpire, like when they say umpire is part of the field, that's not true.
So, umpire getting hit
By a ball,
standing behind the pitcher. That's a fair ball.
yes, but it's also it's a dead ball, and everybody gets their base. I think, if I remember correctly. Brock was playing.
right.
I think I've told this story
Yeah,
before.
you're right.
Brock was playing Ohio Dominican University, had bases
right.
loaded with one out. A ball hits an umpire in the middle of the field, ricochets to the second baseman. They go 4-6-3 double play. They're all hooting and hollering coming off the field. Umpire said, no, actually, that's umpire interference. Everybody's safe. Run scored. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it completely changed that play. Although, had the ball gone up the middle, they would probably have scored 2 runs.
True.
You just never know. I mean, you never know. I mean, could the shortstop or second baseman have gotten it if they were shading, playing double play depth? I mean, those are always hard. Those are difficult situations.
So you're telling me. Okay, how about this, Coach? How about this? Say that catcher threw to first base when the runner was running to second. Is it still interference?
Or through to let's go third base because you had a runner on third, right?
Well, I mean, you could say he was trying to get that
but the runner
out,
wasn't.
though.
But the runner wasn't. Well, yeah. I mean,
If the runner's standing on the bag and the catcher makes a throw to it, is it interference? Let's say that. Runner on third, standing on the bag, pitch comes in, batter steps out, catcher runs into the hitter.
making a throw to try to get an out at third.
The runner
even
standing
though
on the bag.
I don't think as an umpire you're allowed to determine where that runner is. I think you only got to determine the play.
I tell you what,
that happened.
you have completely shifted to the dark side.
I haven't shifted.
And
I just think
you did.
I just think that's what it
At
is. We need some
12:01.
umpire buddies to clarify
I don't want
this
to talk to him because I disagree with
No,
him.
I'll
It's
give
wrong.
I'll jump on your side here. I'll give you a ridiculous one that actually was. I mean, well, your play was real too. This was in a high school game, a very, very important high school game. It was a league game for us, and it was already a frustrating game because of a lot of interference calls, things like this, stepping out of the box and all this stuff, and so after about 5 or 6 things that had happened in this game, and I was already pretty frustrated by it and doing my best. We looked back at that game and thought, you know what, we handled that about as good as we could have handled it. Like that's one of those you look back on, you're like, that was good from everybody because everybody was calm. It could have gotten out of hand and we could have lost that game. We didn't. But what had happened was after about 5 or 6, in fact, it was in the same inning that we had one of those. He stepped out of the box, base hits, and so a base hit turned into an out, and there was a ground ball hit to shortstop. It was the third out, routine ground ball to shortstop. And runners run on the first base. Shortstop makes a play. We're up to bat, right? Shortstop makes a play, throws him out at first, routine out. Teams are exchanging, like teams are leaving the field, entering the field. Umpire comes up to me, hey Chris, just want to let you know, even if they hadn't gotten that out, I would have had to call your runner out because he was running way up the inside of the line, not in the 3-foot lane. Now, had I not already had 5 conversations, some of those being very ridiculous, before that, I might have debated that. I might have said, what difference does it make on a throw from shortstop where that runner runs to first base? He's establishing a baseline to first base. There is no, the lane is there for that play where the catcher or the pitcher or the third baseman is making a throw in the same direction that the runner is going. And if that runner then interferes, so he's got that lane for that reason, is my thought, right? Not for if a ground ball hit the shortstop, where there is no chance whatsoever that any throw from shortstop could potentially at all hit him.
Spirit of the rule.
On his way to first base.
Yes.
And I didn't. Instead I went, all right, thanks, and just took the bat and walked back to the dugout. It was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was a bizarre. It was like what I mean, because in my mind I was like, okay, that's what happened this inning. What's going to happen next inning? It was crazy.
The rule isn't that you can't run inside the baseline. The rule is you can't run inside the baseline and interfere with the play. If you're outside the baseline, you interfere with the play, or inside the baseline, you interfere with the play. It's interference.
Yeah.
If you're in the running lane, it's not.
You ever seen this play? Speaking of first and third situations, you ever seen a play where, I think this is one of those Bush League, Little League plays I saw one time.
Skunking out.
Yep.
The first baseman goes right.
The kid on first base, instead of running a second, takes off running toward the right field wall, the right field fence. And
I've seen it on
And
video.
then the defense is like, what do we do there? Well, he's establishing his baseline.
Yeah, he's not out.
He's not out.
So what do you do as a defense there?
I throw the ball to the pitcher.
Do you?
And
You
get
just concede it?
Yeah, let him get as far out as he can. Throw the ball to the pitcher, say, make the pitch. Hopefully we get a ground ball here. We got an easy out at second base. Or
That's fair.
a pop-up. I don't know. I mean, how do you defend that? Like, why? I mean, the instinct would be always way out there. Let's get him out, and let's try to get that runner to score.
I think, it's something you have to practice and be ready. And that's what people's asked me about that play. And I'm like, I worry about it more defensively than I do off. Like, they're like, oh, you should do this. I'm like,
I don't do Bush League stuff.
Yeah. But I worry about it. I think about it defensively. Like, how are we going to respond to it?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, you need to.
For me, what you want to do is, you have a good idea. Give it to the pitcher. Let him.
Don't respond to it.
Normally they don't go all the way to the fence. They're like out in the grass or something like that. But give it to the pitcher. Let him pitch. He's way off. Something could happen there. A line drive, pop up, whatever. Whatever. And then you kind of flip the pressure back to the offense.
I think if I'm, I think if I'm the pitcher or second baseman, I'm teaching them, hey, just tip your hat.
Yeah.
Have fun out there.
I think it's a good opportunity to work on, like a cut situation where you attack that runner, and then knowing that the runner on third base at some point is going to get either to a point or take off home.
Because the reason why, like let's say a runner runs halfway to second base and stops. Yeah. Right? Like you don't want to throw the ball there.
Right.
You want to run at him. And so I think they're also thinking offensively, well, instead of running halfway to second base, let's just run to the outfield because then if they're taught to run at you, he's going to run so far away.
But you don't do that.
Yeah, he's going to run so far away with the ball that we can score from third easily.
I think you get to a point that
you don't even worry about that guy.
Yeah. If you want to get that out on third is what I'm saying. It's an opportunity to get that out on third.
Yeah, if you don't care about that. If you don't care about that run scoring.
Well, I want that guy out. So you could take off, and maybe by the time you get to the dirt, if that.
I don't want to necessarily concede an out, like a free base. I'd like to get an out, but I also if depending on the game situation.
No, I want the out on the guy on third.
Yeah, right.
So
I agree.
if I can get him to commit home, let's get him.
If you can
now we get him in a rundown.
Defensive play to make him think that you're going after that guy, and now you actually can get him. Yeah. Yeah, it's something interesting to think about.
But
those are the kinds of things that you got to think about in the game of baseball that you wouldn't think that you would have to think about, right?
Right.
You got to prepare your teams for that you wouldn't think you need to prepare your teams for. Yeah. But I think there's so many situations like that could happen. It's hard to prepare your team for every single one of them. But I think what you got to prepare your team to do then is don't panic.
Yes.
Just be who, you know, we understand what's happening here. If you have a team with some baseball IQ, you realize what the situation is, what out you need. Like if we're up by 5 runs, we'll be chasing that guy all through the outfield and tag him out. I don't care about that run.
We'll
get that out.
Yeah,
we'll take an out away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if we're late in the game and up by 5, yeah, and you want to give up an out for 1 run, sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But otherwise, have fun out there running around like you're in a circus, you know. but we don't really care about you, basically.
Yeah.
And I think I for a team to just be like,
that would be fun
to just shrug it off like, yeah, whatever.
That would be fun to see what would happen in a situation like that when the defense don't care about the run on third, so they just take off towards that runner, see where, you know, because the baseline's established at the point of a tag and a play.
See where that runner ends up going?
Where he ends up going. Like, is he going to go to center?
At some point, he's got to make his way to the base.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then once the fielder gets so close, you know.
Uh-huh.
But see, that's...
Those kinds of plays irritate me because of you could just be like, well, then he has to. Well, then he has to. Well, then if he doesn't do, you know, the Chinese team tried the old hidden ball trick twice. It was a Chinese, it may have been Japanese. I don't know which team it was, but they tried the old hidden ball trick twice on one of the other, like the Curacao or maybe the Caribbean team. Might be the same team. I don't know, and didn't work. Tried it twice.
That's a tricky one too.
I mean, it was they ran it well for some kind of, you know, for running a bush league play well. They ran it well. Like the pitcher got the ball back. They had some kind of sign because the in Little League, that kid, you can only get like a secondary lead after the ball crosses the hitter. Mm-hmm. So he got the secondary lead, and then I don't know if he turned his head or what, but when the pitcher got the ball back, he faked a throw and just put the ball back in his glove, and they all started, you know, the shortstop, second baseman started running towards center field, and the guy standing at second base turned around looking. He doesn't see a ball, so he does not move. He does not see a ball, so he does not move. And they're still trying to get him, and then finally they realize, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
I thought you meant the legitimate pitcher goes to the second baseman has the ball, and pitcher goes to the mound. Because depending on the rule set you're in, it dictates how close the pitcher can get to the mound.
I had a high school team try that on us this year.
Where'd the pitcher go?
He was on the mound off the rubber.
It's a balk. Yeah.
Yeah, it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Hanlon did a good job of.
Oh,
yeah.
Please. He'd ate that up, boy. We'll try that on Joe.
What happened was that the pitcher standing off the rubber, mm-hmm. right, without the ball, and the second baseman, I believe, had the ball. Right, he wasn't anywhere near our runner. Second baseman had the ball. So our runner kind of gets off a little bit. I don't want them, they don't have to stay on the bag just because the pitcher's off the rubber.
No, I agree with you.
Right. As long as their eyes are on the pitcher, the guy with the ball. Now, he didn't see the ball, but he could easily assume the pitcher has the ball because he's standing in a position where legally you have to have the ball if you're getting ready to pitch, you know, on top of the mound. And so he gets off a couple feet, you know, waiting to get his next lead to become his primary lead. And while he's off a couple feet, second baseman darts in and tags him. And they all start hooting and hollering. And John Hanlon goes, "Nope, that's a balk. You get third base." And they didn't understand why.
Yeah.
And it was a little surprising to me that they didn't understand why.
There are different rule sets, though. I think in Little League, you can do it as long as you're not on the rubber.
Not on the rubber. Because not all Little League fields have a mound, maybe. Some of them are all dirt fields, and so it's hard to determine.
Maybe.
Because if you're on the dirt in high school, you can't.
Yeah, but in college, I think it's like 5 feet. You can be
in the dirt, but
on
just
the
not
dirt,
on
but not. Yeah. So that's weird.
I'm pretty sure it's dirt, right, in high school.
Yeah, I don't
know, because I don't those.
I think it is
because those kinds of rules don't. I know. I know we should probably use every strategy that you could probably use you could possibly use to win, but I just don't concern myself with those kinds of plays.
How about
I'd rather play the game with.
How about the runner running from second and just completely shortcutting the third base? Have you seen that video?
The double squeeze. It's a double.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
It's a double squeeze. It's a double suicide squeeze. Runners at second and third. You have a two umpire crew, a 2-man crew. You've got one umpire. He's paying attention to the third, the runner coming from third, touching home plate. The field umpire is watching the play if it goes to first, which means literally nobody is able to watch the runner rounding third. So instead of touching the third base bag, he runs in the grass.
Yeah.
And cuts it short and tries to score.
How do you feel about that?
That is bush league if I ever saw it. Yeah, I mean, well, because that's literally that's not even within the rules. That's cheating to win. That's by definition cheating to win. It was slick when I saw the video of it. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But it's not something I would teach because, man, think about the integrity of. I mean, the integrity of the game and the integrity of the players.
I'm glad you used that rule because here's what I'm saying with play, like these catcher interference calls. It's promoting these attempts by catchers to intentionally get these interference calls, or not catcher interference, but hitter interference, runner interference.
You're using the letter of the law, the letter of the rule to your advantage by doing a stupid baseball play.
Yeah, so I don't like it, and I don't like that teams get away with things like that, or they're rewarded for things like that because it just, I just don't like it.
Yeah, like that. There are instances, in some of these plays even that you and I have discussed here today where you can see, like, if you got a savvy catcher on a bunt that he is pretty sure he's not going to get the out at first, and so instead of trying to throw it to first base, he actually throws it and hits the runner in the back, right? And then, as a coach, you're like, obviously the runner had to be running in the lane because the ball hit him in the back.
But that's where
a lot of umpires would call him out because of that, even if the runner isn't in the lane. That's what I'm saying, right? Like
maybe
from a defensive standpoint, that's a pretty slick play on the catcher's part that could work in your advantage, but it could also penalize the offensive team, even though he wasn't breaking a rule there.
Right. Yeah.
You know what all these are? All these scenarios are? These are just further reasons why baseball is the greatest game in the world, the best sport.
Yeah.
I sent you something, like we're 35, 36 minutes into the podcast, I think, here, and we haven't really hit our topic.
Okay.
But there's something I sent you on, it was a TikTok video, actually, of a game that took place earlier this year.
Sure.
It was a game between the Oakland Athletic. They're not in Oakland anymore. They still are in Oakland, but they're called the Los Angeles. Are they LA Athletic? Are they Oakland still?
Yeah.
Every team out there seems to be swallowed up by LA. Yeah,
I think they are.
LA Angels, LA Dodgers.
They're not. It's not.
I'm thinking. I'm getting
of the
football.
Raiders.
I'm getting football confused with baseball. Yeah, Oakland left football, but they still have a baseball team.
Right.
So anyway, Ron Darling is in the booth with I don't know who the play-by-play guy is, but he's sharing some thoughts on a play that happened where, well, these guys are big leaguers, so I'll say their names because Joey Estes is the pitcher. He's on the mound. He gives up a hit that is an absolute shot. It's laced down the third base line. It's not really down the line, but it's to the third baseman's backhand side. And his third baseman, who is a rookie, his name is Mark Vientos, I think is how you say it. They'll say it on here. I'll play it. And he makes an attempt. I mean, it's a crossover, and it's not a diving attempt because quite honestly,
I think you could say
didn't have time to dive. Really,
No,
that ball was laced.
I think it'd have been a good play, but you could say,
You could say most major league third basemen are making that play.
Sometime. I mean,
Nolan Arenado.
I'm not surprised he didn't make it. You know what I mean? It's not like,
yeah. I think it's a situation. But anyway, the pitcher, who is not a rookie,
it wouldn't have mattered if it was or not.
Reacted in a way that was
his body
childish.
His body language was very negative on the mound,
and he ignored the rookie in the dugout after that as well, and it just was a really poor example of teammate. What a good teammate is. So I'll play it here so you
Joey
can
Estes gave up
kind of
his
hear.
shot to Mark Vientos. Bounced by Hernandez and got the Mets
That's
the
a
first
shot.
run. You see Estes' reaction on the field. It was though he was incredulous that Hernandez didn't make what would have been a spectacular play.
And then between innings, he ignores his young third baseman. Listen,
He's walking right by
one
him.
thing I could not stand as a player is this ball lofted into right field. Gamble should have it easy. One thing I could not stand as a player, and I can't stand in the booth, is one showing up your infielders. Everyone is trying to make the plays. Not one person in the history of the game that tried to make an error. And two, when you give up a shot like that and it gets by, you should never have that reaction, and you should never rebuff him when you're coming in to the dugout. You give him a slap on the fanny and say, "Hey, great try. We'll get him."
Well, on the contrary, if you do have that kind of reaction, it behooves you to go to that teammate and apologize.
That's right. And just say, "Hey, listen, I lost my mind out there," whatever. Because everything is seen now, as we know, we're part of the problem. But when you come on the bench, part of being a good teammate as a pitcher is making sure everyone, you're on their side, they're on your side, and we're trying to battle together. It's not...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gold right there. We don't really know. Like, I didn't see I think it was a passing. We don't really know when it happened. So he might have said something to
Yeah, they
him coming off
showed
the
it.
field or
They
something.
went back and showed him in the dugout, and the rookie's coming up to bat because he was batting there on the clip that I showed. The rookie's come up to bat, and he walks by the pitcher, and the pitcher just
Maybe Essie said something to him coming off the field or something like that. We don't know.
Yeah,
the
you
bottom
don't know.
line is we're basing that off his reaction
on the field and
on the field. Yeah, which
and what they could determine from what they watched after, afterwards. But.
a little bit of that had to have been Essie's thing. He just got beat because the guy. I mean, yeah, he hit it on the ground, but it was a rocket.
Yeah,
so he hit that pitch hard. If it was a slow roller, Essie's would have felt like, well, I won that, and the guy should have made the play. But even in those situations,
yeah, that's true. It's one thing if it's a routine, easy,
right?
ground ball that you won as a pitch.
I bet they called that a hit. I bet they called that a hit.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They called that a hit.
Yeah.
In the MLB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and it is all day. That's a base hit.
Yeah. The guy made two mistakes. The pitcher got beat twice. He got beat physically, and then he got beat mentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't have it.
No.
Can't have it. I've had talks with pitchers in the past about those situations because I've seen it. Throwing a glove.
Yeah.
Something like that. Throwing your hands up there, which is what Estes did there. Basically, he made that movement there.
And everybody sees it.
Everybody
Your
sees it.
teammates see it. You see, yeah. And it impacts how those other guys, like, everybody's friends. They're a little bit more friends with this guy than this guy, right? And as a pitcher, you kind of got your own community, and those position players that play together every day, they got a little bit of a tightness to them.
That's true too.
And
it was just
if they see you behave that way toward a guy who's they're a little bit more buddies with than you, that that's not good. That's not good for you in that clubhouse.
Yeah, for sure, is a mistake. Immaturity.
Yeah.
But lack of it's bad baseball IQ.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to make an error.
Any sport, you do that in any sport.
Sure. Right.
Somebody misses a block and you're a running back and you get just absolutely pounded because this guy missed a block or like a spot pass. I've watched a high school game this past week where there's this spot pass. If there's two guys, it had trips, two guys up here to block, right? One of them got his block, the other one didn't, and that's the kid that made the tackle. And you could easily, if you're, that you lost a yard on that play, you could easily be like, get that block, man, And I get it in the heat of the moment, right?
Well, it's
just like the other commentator said, in the heat of the moment, even if you do react that way because you're a competitor, go back to him and say, I shouldn't have done that.
And maybe Estes did. That's
Maybe
what I'm
he
saying.
did, yeah.
But it didn't look like it from the reaction and the interaction in the dugout. So, but I think it's harder to do that for the younger athlete that you have. It's hard. It's more difficult to make up for that type of language that you display out there on the field. So it'd just be better off not to do it. Well, and if you're the movement, the body language is the big part too. Like walk over to him,
Right.
in the huddle as a football player, at a timeout, a basketball player, we need that play, let's get that play, be a leader as opposed to a complainer or a blamer, which is what Estes was doing there.
Yeah, and get better at controlling that immediate reaction, that immediate response.
Yeah.
It's an impulsive, instinctive, emotional reaction.
I felt that Friday. I did.
As a fan.
Yes.
As a dad.
I may have said some things to the officiating crew during the football game.
Was that you yelling over there?
I don't think you heard me.
Maybe though. Man, I heard somebody.
No, I didn't.
I went down to the Megs game this Friday. Watched our nephew play.
The thing
Pat's
is,
son play.
Yeah, I wanted that game so bad for the team and our new coaching staff and our school.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was an emotional mess.
Were you?
Oh yeah, I was early in the third quarter.
Took your coach hat off, put your fan hat on, your dad hat on.
I was sitting there just.
Were you sitting near the guy then that kept yelling, 75 is holding all night?
Yeah.
It was like, it was getting
That's
comical.
why you couldn't hear
I'll tell
me.
you this, Pat. The people in your own people were laughing at that guy.
They were probably laughing at me.
They were embarrassed. They're like, okay, guy, we get it.
They couldn't hear me.
The ball was no sooner being snapped, and he was going, oh my gosh, there it is again. And like, that's no exaggeration, is it? Like it was that.
No, that's exactly how I sounded.
Oh, it was you. That was you.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. You just couldn't hear me because of him.
Oh my goodness! It was. I'm like, okay, let it.
There
rest.
was a couple times.
Here's the other funny thing. It was at the point of the game where the opponent had no chance of winning.
I don't know about
matter.
that. It was close down to the end, Coach.
It was close to the end. They were down 2 scores with no timeouts and 20-some seconds left. I mean, they weren't going to win that game. Now, they did get the onside kick. Well, no, they didn't either. They called.
They almost did.
You got a call there, buddy. You think that kid didn't touch that ball?
Wasn't the call.
What's that?
And
that wasn't the call?
This is the lesson that all of us should learn.
When I saw it in front of me, I thought, well, that ball went 10 yards before he touched it.
I did too. And there's a block in the back. To me,
that was the penalty?
No. But it was earlier in the game. There's a blatant block in the back that they picked up, and I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna yell at my buddy Terry Ringer about that. But there was obviously a reason they did it. There's always a reason that things happen, and
it was one of the 6 times that they huddled together before they decided what the penalty was.
But no, they called. What happened on that onside kick was they kicked it before the officials told them to go. Yes.
Wow.
Right.
Boy, that stinks on their part.
Yes, it does. Big time. Big time.
Because they executed it.
They got it.
Yeah. And then they ran the exact same type of onside kick the next time. But
he kicked it harder, though.
But those up men were ready. Yeah, he did kick it a little harder.
Because it got past the first line.
So I talked to Griffin afterwards, and he said I knew after seeing it the first time, the next time he said I was just going to run up there and hit the first guy I saw, and let our second, instead of trying to recover it on the front line.
Yeah.
He said I looked at whoever the guy was on the other side of where the ball was going to go. He's like, let's just go hit somebody and let the guys behind us recover it.
Yeah.
Which is really smart. Yeah.
So, but I wanted it, and I was an emotional man. I really was.
Well,
but I didn't.
Well, here's the thing: you weren't as emotional as that guy.
I just yelled.
Is it a podcast listener?
I don't think so.
If you are a podcast listener and you were that guy, you were embarrassing.
Yeah, but
people were going, okay, man. I mean, like your own fans, like your own maroon and gold fans were going, that's enough, man. That's enough.
I think they were doing that to me too.
Were they?
Because I was calling the same thing. We were yelling the same thing because I saw.
And he was. Because you were texting me, and you're like, "Hey, is 75 holding Jake?" And I started watching. I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's hooking it." Like every time Jake tried to get through him, he was beating the kid. And the kid was big. I mean, he should be able to block him, right? But his feet weren't faster than Jake's, and so he was a step behind, and so he was hooking him, and you could see, that his arm was going out as Jake was going around, and that's what your buddy who was hollering. He was standing up for Jake. Whoever it was. He was standing up for Jake. Wasn't your dad, was it?
No, but he was
It
yelling
was a younger
too.
fella.
My dad and my father-in-law were both yelling. I was trying to settle them down. But no. The officials can't hear you when you're screaming. The only people that can hear you.
Boy, I think they could that night.
You think so?
It felt quiet. Didn't you think it felt quiet? It was one of the quietest football games that I'd been to in a long time.
We were nervous. We were all nervous.
It was the first game of the season, and you know it's quiet when you can hear the officials down there like saying, "Okay, guys, get water, get water." You know, when he calls the official timeout, it's like you shouldn't be able to hear him tell him, just talking to him, like, "Okay, get water." It's like nobody's like the band wasn't playing during the fourth quarter at all. Gaia's was. Did you notice that?
No.
The band's usually playing.
Normally the band don't play during the third, but they play during the fourth.
They let them go out and have like usually you have the. I mean, the game got exciting in the fourth.
It did.
It was something I noticed. I was like,
it was a good game.
Usually the Megs band's playing in the fourth quarter, like playing some fight song and just fun stuff like dun 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 dun. You know, all the
no, I didn't notice that. Maybe that was the problem
or whatever. Yeah.
No, I didn't notice that.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe it's something they're doing different this year.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they were just hot. Everybody else was cramping. So maybe the band was cramping.
True.
Yeah. Actually, Megs players weren't cramping. Gaia players were going down like flies.
You know,
and then the refs were like, "Okay, get water." And we're thinking, too late now, bub. Pickle juice maybe in the immediacy, but they should have drank water last night and earlier today.
It's odd how that happens. It seems like it's just game by game. Like sometimes one team cramps
Wait
up.
till this Friday.
Yeah.
95 degrees, heat index almost 100, I think. This Friday's the
I know
prediction.
some teams are
Here
pushing
in our
their game
area.
back a little bit.
Hey, one of those kids that was cramping in your game, your son Jake happened to be walking by him, and the kid lifts his foot up and he's trying to stretch, and Jake grabs his foot and he's stretching him out, and you got a Megs kid stretching out a Gaia kid, helping him with his cramp. And you're over there cringing.
This is a podcast
You're
episode.
cringing, and Jake's kind of looking around, thinking, "Hey, is some of his teammates going to come over here and take over for me, or what?" And he just stayed there, you know. And I texted Pat. I'm like, "Look at that sportsmanship, proud papa moment." Do you want me to read?
No.
What you said? No, don't read that. Jake, I was proud of you. All right, whether your dad was or not, I was proud of you.
I had some people sitting around me saying, "What are you doing? What's he doing? What's he doing?" Just giving
you
me
had
a
some
hard time.
competitors.
Yeah,
let the kid down. Let the kid suffer down there. He should have drank more water last night.
It was a good moment. I am proud of him. But
I mean, that's just who your kid is.
Our one of the officials asked our athletic director who
number 9 is.
Who is that? And he said that's our baseball coach's son.
Oh, I thought maybe he said that's Chastity Martin's son.
Well, that's who it is. That's who it is. If you look at the size of him, I mean, you know, from he don't
what are
get.
you saying?
He don't get it from my pet side of the family.
Boy, you better be careful where you're going with this.
That's the truth.
You better be careful.
He gets his size from the Fowler side of the family. That's for
there
sure. But I said, you know, and Coach Musser messaged me that to let me know that he asked about him, and I said, "Oh, so I should probably not keep him grounded the whole weekend." But you know,
you were going to punish him for that?
For like who's grounded
for helping the other team.
weekend. But yeah,
right.
it was. Yeah. I don't know. It was pretty neat. And
Megs is 1-0.
They are
beat Gaia, a team that they don't typically beat on opening day. Right, the last time was 2017, I believe, and then before that, did they beat them in 15 too?
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like it was 2 times there in the teams in the teen
I know
years.
17 was the last
and then
time.
Beyond that, it was a long time. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the total record of the two team, the game, Gaia obviously dominates that series.
Yeah. I think even when we won the TVC in '98,
that might have been.
And '99,
there was a long time between. Oh, really?
Yeah, we lost to Gallipolis both of those years. I think we might have beat them in '99. I can't remember.
They've had some tough football down there.
But
they were really good last year.
You know, we went 9-1 in '98 for sure, and maybe didn't. At any rate, we didn't make playoffs. That was back when it was, you know.
Well, it meant something to make the playoffs.
Well, I think it still means something.
It obviously means something, but it was hard to make the playoffs.
It was really hard.
You had to earn the playoff,
opportunity was
right?
very. Yeah, you had to be. You couldn't have 3 losses. Probably doesn't make the playoffs, and you know back then.
Shoot, there were teams that went undefeated and didn't make the playoffs.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
So
Yeah,
these
Athens went undefeated. And,
balloons keep popping up on your phone.
Why does that happen? I've noticed that on our podcast afterwards that sometimes
Does that do that show up in the video?
it does.
Oh, it does?
Like I don't know. I don't understand what that is. Like,
I don't either.
It's a
Congratulations,
It must be. It's triggered by something that we say.
or do.
Yeah. Great job. Great job, everyone. Sometimes there's thumbs ups too. Thumbs up.
Oh, there is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I don't
a
know.
Microsoft thing. But,
Oh. But we're not using a Microsoft product. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. It's sportsmanship, body language, all that interesting stuff is important to value.
Something to be aware of and
Yeah.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Work on it because it matters. It does matter.
absolutely does.
I think it mattered to Megs Friday night because I think there were some moments there that we could have responded pretty negatively,
Oh yeah.
and for the most part we stayed in.
Yeah.
and didn't. So give
Yeah,
the
you guys were well disciplined the other night, I felt like.
I did too. I don't know how the coaches feel, but or
From a
yeah,
fan
I thought so.
standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
And
so.
I'll say that, I'm able to go down and watch. I think watching Megs right now, for me, I can watch it with an objective eye.
Yeah.
Because I coach at a different school. My kids have all went through a different school, even though I graduated from Megs. I also only went to Megs for 5 years. I mean, it wasn't like I'm not a lifelong Megs guy, but
Right.
that's my alma mater. So I love Megs, but I'm also able to sit back and watch with an objective eye, and I felt like that was one of the more disciplined Megs teams that I've seen in a while. And
Yeah. Yeah, I was happy with them. Really proud of them.
Yeah.
Really proud of them. So good job. Hopefully we can keep it moving. And Eastern got a big win over.
Yeah. They're going to get some big wins. That's a team that's returning a lot of kids from a regional championship appearance last year, and the schedule favors them. I mean, there's no other way to say it. That, you got to be honest when you see that. I mean, it's their toughest games are going to be league games. They're going to be a couple.
Trimble and
there'll be a
Waterford.
couple league games that'll be tough. Yeah, they're teams that they. They beat last year.
And Southern won Friday night as well.
All of Meigs County beat all of Gallup.
We heard that in the
County
parking
last
lot,
year.
didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah. That was
last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Southern Meigs beat
South
Gallia.
Yeah.
Eastern Meigs beat River Valley, which is on the north side of Gallia County,
Yeah.
and Meigs local beat Gallia Academy, which is a public school, even though they've got a.
Wonder how
private
many
school
times
name.
that's happened. What? Oh, yeah.
What's that?
I'm not going to get into that.
The public school with a private school name, the Academy. So, yeah, you don't want to say what we call it. You don't want to say what we call it.
When you say we, what do you mean? He.
Because Roll Rich, Coach Corbin listens here.
Oh.
He's a longtime guy. He got into the coaching Hall of Fame as a Gallia Academy coach.
Yep.
He had a lot of really good years there. Mm-hmm. But Coach, down this way, I have always called your team that you used to be part of Gag Me Academy.
I've never heard that, Coach.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure you've never heard that.
Oh, only with the utmost respect do I refer to.
What do
our
they say?
surroundings.
If you're getting insulted, that means that
That's true.
people fear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that's where that nickname came from. So there you go. We don't fear you anymore, though.
All right. Nice seeing you. Has our music been playing?
Yeah.
Oh, we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, it's done.